why would anyone use this, right? I mean, even if
The
my
others
thing
the
was
other
true,
side would say they would use it because they have no choice because everyone is forced to. That's what
no,
they would say.
I could give you a silver coin.
The whole time?
Yeah, I'll give you.
What he doesn't understand, obviously, is that the reason that silver is the blast cap is because it's still the money. For people will either use silver and get the most liquid commodity back into the economy again, because they see that its value is stable relative to all other values, other commodities and other goods and services, or they'll starve. So it's a simple solution. Just use the silver. The silver people said, silver represents your labor, or gold represents labor, right? All the work that went into silver to mine it up represents your labor. Like gold and silver don't represent, okay? They're just metals. They don't represent anything. They're just money. Hey guys, Rob here from the Endgame Investor with my friend and once a month co-host Phil Lowe of the Bitter Draft for this month's edition of the Bitter Endgame Draft. And today we're going to start the conversation talking about silver hyperbole and a lot of weird stories that you can get a lot from AI sources about silver shortages or other stories of the type, COMEX crashing or shorts getting caught, stuff like that. Things that you can't really verify, and how can you really tell the difference between silver stories that are real and stuff that is just trying to get you to buy a whole bunch of derivatives, and then somebody with a lot of more capital than you will short the market and then cover, and you'll be caught with the bag. So that's going to happen, especially as silver gets a lot more attention. And we're going to introduce a clip where silver is getting into the mainstream, into important minds that can spill it over to the public so that they can understand what's going on. But the mainstream is still missing the point that the reason that this is important is because silver is money. They don't get that last step. So, Phil, how are you doing today? And how would you avoid and differentiate between silver crap news and true news?
I'm doing well, Rafi. I have severe eye irritation, which is why I'm wearing my owl glasses. So I have joined you in the owl glasses community.
I think the
And how would
glasses
I
give you
differ?
more credibility. It makes you look,
Yes, does make you. Yeah, it does make me look more professorial or
yeah,
something, I
yeah.
guess. To differentiate, I honestly I have watched. I mean, over the course of 5 years, especially when I first started, I mean, I was listening to just about anybody that wanted to talk about finance or silver or anything, and just over time, I personally apply Austrian school analysis, and then I can determine who is correct and who is not. Who's going off into weird tangents and who is staying the course. Um, I don't know if I have good advice for a norm. Like if somebody's just getting to this now, like how do you tell the difference between you and Asian guy, AI Asian guy?
I had a guy call me uh, late last week. It was Thursday or Friday, and he was telling me, like, I know this guy. He's an older man, maybe in his 60s, and we connected once because we were talking about silver. And he understands that central banks are a fraud and this and that, but he doesn't quite get. He's susceptible to the kind of alarmist news around silver, and he called me about Asian guy, and I'm like, oh, this thing again. Like this is the fact that it's getting to him means that this is an organized campaign by someone or something to get this news out. And I just saw I fell for another hoax. And it was a very, very well constructed hoax. And Alistair McLeod fell for it too. And not just because of the content of it, but because of who they faked presented it, and that's Yanis Varoufakis. If you remember the Greek debt crisis, Varoufakis he's familiar with the Austrian school. He's not an Austrian economist. He's wrong about a lot of things. He's very Keynesian, but he has a conscience, and he got kicked out as the Greek finance minister because he was too apolitical, too non-political, or too anti-political, and he didn't want to take all the crap that was coming from the European Commission telling him what to do. So the fact that that it was reportedly coming from him means that this was created by a guy who knew that Varoufakis had a lot of cred with our crowd, and this is getting really dangerous. So, but if you just you don't even have to differentiate the news. You just have to avoid it because all you really have to do is keep stacking, and it doesn't even matter if you bought silver at $73 and you bought a roll of dimes or a roll of quarters at $73 an ounce. Then it goes down to 50. I mean, who cares? And then a few weeks later it goes back up to 75. It's going to get volatile. What you have to avoid is letting the news manipulate you into buying ETFs that you wouldn't otherwise buy, or especially the leveraged ones or options plays that you can't afford to do. Something that you can easily push a button and buy and then push a button and sell. Stay away from that and don't let the news influence what you're going to do on that front.
So you think so Asian guy, so the people behind Asian guy, you think they want silver to like spike up to $84, beyond its they want apparently they want people to flush into silver, drive spike the price up to something like $85 an ounce that just happened. And then, obviously that went a little bit ahead of the natural parabolic rise of physical silver. And so they could, I guess, they shorted at 85. Is that what you think happened?
I'm not saying anything specific happened, but I'm saying
Okay.
if I wanted to control the silver price,
Yeah.
I'd create a lot of hype to get the novices invested in a bunch of derivatives
At the
just
peaks.
at whatever peak it is, just
Yeah.
when sentiment gets really, really misplaced. There's no
Yeah.
reason that the wider public should wake up to silver until we can obviously see prices of consumer goods going up in dollars day after day after day significantly. And then they'll start panicking, and then we'll see a real parabola up to infinity. But we're not there yet, so be careful here.
Yeah. 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 So that's see, I think, I mean, this is just me. I think I saw, there's AI videos of absolutely everything now. In fact, have you heard of dead internet theory?
No.
It's just the internet is just becoming bots all talking to each other. Like Twitter is all bots, and it's just bots talking to bots,
Oh,
and
maybe.
following bots. So the same thing might be happening in YouTube, where just AI videos are just popping up just to get clicks, right? And then
Mhm.
the AI watches the AI videos, generates the clicks, generates the views, and so it's just is part of this inflationary system. Is just AI will literally produce anything just to get clicks.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
So the people behind this they're just clickbait surfing. They're
Okay.
not necessarily trying to manipulate the silver market. But I could be
Okay.
wrong. Maybe this is just my theory. Is
That's interesting because that goes along with our general approach to things. That there's no
Yeah,
single party or group of people that's behind any of this. It's just a
yeah,
self-perpetuating, self-accelerating cycle of inflation that has now infected the information portals that we use itself.
right.
And
And
they're
so
yeah.
what people like, one of the things that's amazing is how cheap these videos are to make and how fast they can do it, right? So for me to make a video, I mean, I make 15-minute videos. It takes half a day's work to get that going, from the time I hit record and make it, and I got to edit it, then I got to post it, and I got to make the thumbnail, all that stuff takes about half day. The AI guys can do it, they can make videos every hour, maybe faster than that. As soon as the information comes up on the Twitter sphere or whatever, AI Asian guy has made a video on it. And so I think it's just, who's ever behind it is just like, wait, make another video, let's get some views. Because
Okay.
views equal dollars, views turn into dollars over time. And so the same there's AI guys doing makeup tutorials or
Are you kidding? I need more lipstick! Much more! Tell him I need a commitment first. That'll stick a potato in his tailpipe.
cooking video, whatever they're going to
Right.
talk about.
Now for a dash of salt. Oh,
Oh, dear God!
there was nothing wrong with that food. The salt level was 10% less than a lethal dose.
Right. Okay. So that also fits in with the end game itself because by the time we get there, all of our brains should be so scrambled that we don't even know what's going on anymore. And then
Yeah,
we just pull the plug. But credit is feeding all this stuff. Credit is feeding the AI. Credit is feeding the infrastructure that allows AI to keep producing, churning out this
garbage.
garbage. And unfortunately, some of it is not really garbage. I mean, it looks really nice and it sounds very authentic. And it's the weirdest thing is that I was talking to my wife about being fooled by AI and saying I haven't been fooled by it yet. And then right then, a few minutes later, somebody sends me the Varoufakis video, and I got really excited. Like, wow, it's like, and there's still this check that you have to mark on YouTube, like this video contains altered content, blah blah blah. That's just code for AI. And the minute that you no longer have to check that, or that AI gets smarter that it doesn't check that anymore,
Yeah.
it's going to get really Cartesian crisis territory here, and we're almost there. Like this has to stop, or we're going to all
Well,
go insane.
AI, AI is it's impossible for AI to discern the truth because it's not a conscious entity. It can't even begin to determine truth. But what AI does is it tries to guess at what you want to hear and then give you what you want. So the AI videos that, it guesstimates using its probability functions that
Mhm.
people want to hear that, there's a crisis in the COMEX or that, JP Morgan secretly defaulted on all their shorts or what, it wants to hear, we want to hear this stuff because we were expecting the panic. And so
Right.
it provides it to us. They got an Asian guy going, oh, here's the secret information from my sources that, JP Morgan secretly just defaulted on all their shorts. Right. And
Okay.
a panic's going to ensue tomorrow, and
Yeah.
of course
Yeah.
things never materialize. And the AI videos, this is the problem with the the companies that started adopting AI and said, oh, we can fire our workforce because look how good this AI is. And I'm sure the managers, they tried out AI and it produces quality stuff for 95% of the stuff is correct, and then but 5% is catastrophically wrong. So
Yeah.
now you have to hire people to go through what the AI created and hunt down the 5% that's catastrophically wrong because you can't just use the AI, and that's less efficient than just having the original workforce
Right,
make
right.
it.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying there is a possibility that this is just a fad. It's a new thing that people are trying out, and they're trying it out too excitedly because they're worried about their competitor using it first, and then getting price out of the competition. So everyone's using this now, thinking that it's amazing, but they'll realize that it screws everything up, and hopefully we won't have AI building our airplanes, or everything's going to crash.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, look, AI can assist. I have no problem with AI
yeah,
assisting, but it'll get things catastrophically wrong, a certain percent of the time. So
right.
it's just not it. You can't just let the robot drive everything. You need the cyborg.
Okay, so the conclusion is at this point, I think we're close enough. Just ignore if you're into silver and you're into gold, make sure that whatever you're watching doesn't have that AI check mark on it.
Yeah,
And if I'm not saying don't watch it, but if you're gonna watch it, just know that this is what it thinks that you want to hear, right? Phil
yeah.
and I are not AI. We're very naturally intelligent people. Oh, that
You can
sounds
tell
really
by our
bad.
glasses.
Yeah, yeah.
I would also say there's also people that do this too. I mean, there's people that go on and say, "Oh, we just heard special. I have a special inside connection at J.P. Morgan, and you just told me that J.P. Morgan defaulted on all their shorts." And they're making up bullshit too. So there are people in this space who make up stuff all the time.
Right.
I'm not going to name names and get your channel in trouble, but we know who they are.
Actually, the last time you named a name, it really helped the channel because you got Johnny Bravo on, and you
He was a
know,
good sport. He did not have to
yeah,
go. He's a huge channel, so you could have been like, "Who are these talking about me?" I'm not giving him the
yeah,
time of day.
yeah. No, he's a no. I talked to him. He's a really nice guy. He's very generous, very genuine when he's not in character. He's got to be in
Yeah,
character because he has a business to do.
running the business.
But I liked him, and it really helped the channel. Actually, I got a few hundred subscribers off it. It
There
was
you
good.
go.
Um, you wanted to talk about parabolic silver and why this is not a top. It might be a temporary top for a few weeks, right, or something like that. But no, silver is going higher, and unlike gold, which we would say gold doesn't really go higher, the dollar just goes down. Silver's purchasing power does actually go higher pretty fast because it's been so suppressed, not necessarily by manipulation, that what you would imagine is manipulation that the alarmists talk about, but just in terms of the
It's dormancy.
demonetization. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
dormant since 1873, and it still has to wake up, and it will, and it's doing that.
So the video the not the video the people I when I went on Twitter after silver started spiking, like, I mean, I went to bed, it was like $60, and then I woke up, it was like 65, and then throughout the day it went up to 70, and then 72. It just kept going. And then
Mhm.
so on Twitter everyone was like, oh, this is what silver does, it's the top, this is the end, just, congratulations, all the Bitcoin bros are like, congratulations on all your winnings, silver people, but time to rotate back into Bitcoin because Bitcoin's the real money, you know. And if you look at a graph of silver, and I covered this on my last episode, if you look at a chart of silver over the past since 1971, what you see is that silver just sits around $3, $4 for a couple decades, and then it spikes up to $50, and then it goes back down to $10, and it molders there for another couple decades. And then it spikes up to $50, and then it goes back down to $20 and sits there another decade. And now it's spiking again. And so the question is, if you were just to look at that chart, I guess, or the analysis would be, if you were just to look at that chart, you would say, for some unknown reason, every couple decades, people run into silver like a herd of bison being chased by a pride of lions, and then and just as mysteriously they vanish the next day, right? They all stomp right back out. So I can see why somebody who would look at a silver chart and say, "Oh, this is just what silver does." People panic into it, and then people panic right back out of it. If you understand what's happening logically behind the scenes, that the reason silver is doing that. I mean, historically, silver was the most liquid commodity on Earth, even more than gold. But when you don't have banking, silver is the primary money. And so it should be the most stable. I mean, it literally is the price, so it shouldn't move very much at all. It should be the most stable thing. It should not be doing spikes up and spikes back down. It should just be almost totally flat over enormous periods of time.
I would just add there and then keep going to like
Mhm.
keep it in your head. I would add that silver is the most liquid commodity when used by itself, but gold is more liquid when it is used through an honest derivative medium. It's
Yes,
better.
with credit. That's why,
So
yeah,
it's
you
even
have to,
more liquid. Yeah.
yeah, gotta be careful how you phrase it. Yeah, because in some ways you measure things, silver's the most liquid commodity, and if you're going to measure it that way, like put the gold in a vault and then issue credit on it, gold is a more liquid commodity than silver cash. That is correct. Um, where was I? I lost it. You told me to keep it in my head and I
Oh
lost it.
crap.
The analysis of silver,
It goes up.
flat.
It go.
Oh,
It,
okay, right,
yeah.
right, right, right. If you understand that why silver is doing what it's doing, and the future, the banks are messing around with silver by manipulating the futures market by issuing. When you issue a bunch of futures, what you're doing is artificially increasing the supply, falsely increasing the supply of silver, theoretical silver, right?
Mhm.
So the market says, "Oh wow, there's a lot more silver than we thought floating around." So if you look at a supply and demand, right, when the supply increases, the price goes down, and that's how they were able to keep the price down. However, the notes, there's like 400, 500 notes for silver for every actual ounce on these market exchanges. People are not believing them anymore. They're demanding physical, and that is causing the price to spike up parabolically. So the question is, can the bullion banks, can this system, can this monetary system pull another rabbit out of the hat, and can they issue enough futures to calm down the silver markets again?
So what you're saying then from this angle is that the true moves in silver, I mean, it's not true. I mean, there's no objective true move and the false move. I'm saying the silver moving up to 50, like suddenly spiking, is the illusion starting to break down. Whereas
Yes.
silver going back down for decades, so wherever that plateau is, or wherever that valley is for 20, 30 years, or however long it is, that's the illusion reasserting itself. And you're saying this time the illusion is going to fully break down. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. I mean, I think it is. I've bet my life savings that it is. So.
Okay.
That is correct.
All I
And
hope
you know
so.
what? Even if it goes back to sleep, I don't think I'm in the. I mean, I'll just wait until it actually happens. I don't.
Right.
I think we're in the right position regardless. Now we're gonna look. You know, if silver goes back down to 20 and stays 20 for another decade, you and I are gonna. You know, we're gonna look really stupid. Everyone's gonna be like, "See, you guys are morons. You don't know what you're talking about." The in-game investor is gonna have to go on for another 10 years of you
Oh
in the
God,
darkness.
no. I'm
You
just,
know.
I don't know. Uh, eh,
But
okay.
I think this is,
Yeah.
I really think this is it. I can't imagine another 10 years. I mean, if you think Clown World, if you think 2019 was bad, I mean, Clown World will be exponentially more exponential.
Well, that's what exponential is. It's exponentially exponential.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. It'll be 10 times worse. So, well, actually be exponentially squared. It'll be squared. It'll be 2019 squared.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why isn't this a top? So let me just give a shot to that. That means a simple explanation. Not that yours wasn't simple, but like more you were in the ether here. I'm gonna go down
Yeah,
where
go ahead.
this is not my forte, but we're gonna do a role reversal here. The reason why this is not a top, even though it might be a temporary top for a few weeks, is that QE has started, but we're not even we're like only in first gear of money printing. We're not anywhere past that. Like they're just buying a bunch of bills to increase reserves. These reserves aren't really going outside of the banking system yet. So yes, QE started, they're printing money, but they're not dumping it in the streets yet. They're going to once the next bank run hits wherever it's going to be. Last time it was regional banks. This time, I don't know. It's going to be JP Morgan. I'm not saying it's going to be JP Morgan. It's going to be somebody, and it's going to spread. And once that happens, there's going to be a huge deflationary panic. Silver could go down like, I don't know, 20, 30% in a day. And then the Fed's going to act, and then everything is going to reverse, and that should be the end game from there. That should be just a beeline to the end.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean the Fed's gonna have to print something like $5 trillion on day one. It's gonna be just unbelievable. You know, it's just you remember if you remember in 2008, you know, the Fed was like, we need to print $1 billion, you know, several $100 billion, and they ended up printing like $1 trillion in a day.
yeah.
It's gonna be time. It's gonna be exponentially larger than that because we're on an exponential growth curve. So it's
But
just gonna and people are already bitching about prices. So imagine it's not gonna take 120 IQ person to say, wait a second, if prices are high now and if they're printing $5 trillion and they're not stopping, in another week they're gonna have to print another 5 trillion. That's gonna make prices go up even higher.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not gonna take much.
yeah,
I really think we're here, guys.
yeah. I
But
think so
but
too.
we don't, everyone's like, oh, they'll just find another excuse to kick the can down the road, they'll find something. I don't see how. I don't see how.
Yeah.
But maybe the forces that are behind it can get another if I will say this, if they do manage it, it won't be it's not going to be another decade. It might be a couple more years. I don't think it's going to be another decade.
So recall, and this is the last thing I'll say on this topic, then we'll go to the video that I want to share with you
Okay.
of this whole silver news starting to flow out into the mainstream, but they've still got a big piece of it wrong, and hopefully we can explain the rest to them and get this thing going. But 2008, right when Ron Paul was really getting popular, he spearheaded or was a big part of an audit the Fed, and they were able to do a partial audit, and they discovered that the 2008 bailout wasn't really 700 billion. That was just the tip of the iceberg. It was really like 16 trillion dollars. And you can Google this. I mean, this is a documented hard fact. It was $16 trillion, including all the bailouts, all the other central banks that they extended currency swaps to, and all this stuff. So if 2008 was 16 trillion, 2020 had to be, in the tens of trillions at least. And this one, if we count all the backdoor bailouts that they're not even going to admit to doing through some kind of accounting trick they'll hide, it should be in the hundreds of trillions, and that's not an exaggeration. I don't know what the forms of all those trillions will be in, but
Yeah.
but in some form it'll be that.
And that should do the system can't handle that. I mean, it can't without consumer goods going up, no way. No way. That's where are we gonna? I mean, how many Bitcoin derivative, leverage Bitcoin derivatives can they find where they people will be like, oh yeah, let me go put my wealth there instead of into cans of tuna fish.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to this video. When I heard this, my mouth dropped because I listened to Brett Weinstein almost every podcast that he makes. because he's the kind of guy who has a working brain, and he tries to reason through all the logic of everything, but he's missing basic facts that he doesn't know that he's missing. So he got through COVID. He started to understand vaccines. He now he's a full anti-vaxxer, even though nobody's really an anti-vaxxer. It's like we're not against vaccines or the concept of it. It's just like they're not safety tested. So once he figured that out, he changed his position on that. He will change his position on what money is if I'm able to talk to this guy. So if you have any ins with Brett Weinstein, and if you're listening, email me. My email is endgameinvestor@gmail. It's a public email, and let me know if you have any connection with this guy, and then we can get the logic of this back down into the mainstream, and then get going with this show. So here's the what?
Well, before you do the clip, real quick, what have you heard anything about Eric Weinstein and Brett Weinstein being charlatans? Have you heard the debates on that?
Charlatans.
Charlatan. I don't follow them very closely, so I don't know. But just in the sphere, I've seen posts on Twitter or whatever.
Eric sold his soul
Okay.
at the beginning of COVID. Not as bad as who's that guy?
Oh,
Who's
Sam
him?
Harris?
Sam Harris, yeah. Sam Harris. Not as bad as him. He went full retard.
Okay.
Eric he talked about his brother a few days ago, and he said that COVID did damage their relationship. But Eric isn't completely off the reservation.
Okay.
He's just damaged.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
I don't know much about the Weinstein brothers, so I'm curious. But now,
yeah.
go ahead. And everyone, whenever you see someone who you don't like on the internet, the first thing you can say is this guy's a grifter, this guy's a charlatan. So take that for what it's worth. I'm not accusing them. I don't know. I know very little about them.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
We are seeing a number of things that all speak to a financial calamity looming short term. And I would point specifically to, and I am no expert in this, I wish I understood it better, but the price of silver skyrocketing. Why is the price of silver skyrocketing? Well, the story, as I understand it, is that the price of silver has been artificially depressed. How do you artificially depress the price of a commodity that people can actually buy? Well, because we have two versions of the commodity. There's actual silver and there's paper silver. And paper silver can be printed. So, to the extent that the price of silver wants to rise because silver is scarce, those who are in a position to create silver by printing it and selling it so that you own some silver in your portfolio, but it's not a real metal, those people are in a position to drive the price down by creating the impression that there is supply where there isn't.
And it's not tagged. There's no silver standard with paper silver. It's not inherently tagged to real silver.
I believe it is over leveraged in an extreme fashion, which only ends up mattering. So let's say that you were looking at silver and, it's artificially depressed and I'd like to get in on profiting from it. Well, can you profit by buying paper silver? Short term. You can profit because if the price goes up, it doesn't matter which silver you have as long as you can sell it for whatever the price is. On the other hand, the danger, and this is what sophisticated people are talking about, is that there are going to be a tremendous number of defaults on the paper that does not have real silver as a backing. And that if you own real silver, therefore, instead of the price can skyrocket and you can get nothing because your paper is not valuable because the person who owes you the silver is bankrupt.
But if you've got real silver, is where you started, that can't
If
happen
you
to you.
have got real silver, that can't happen to you. Right. So what is, I think, taking place is there is a battle between those who have spotted this looming catastrophe and are buying actual silver because they expect it to go up. They expect the stranglehold of those who can print it and artificially depress the price to be broken. And so ever more effort is being put into holding back that rising price by printing more, which is, of course, a positive feedback that is going to detonate. And what I've understood from these discussions, Michael Yon calls silver the blasting cap in the economy. And the point is, silver is not a big player in terms of how the world runs, but it is in a position to set loose the bursting of bubbles, the repricing of things that are mispriced because of artificiality like this in the markets. When Michael Yon talks about silver as the blasting cap, this is how it could unfold, right? Silver breaks free from its artificially depressed price. This causes a repricing of a bunch of things because those who have sold people silver that they don't have to either get that silver or default. So you have a bunch of properties that, big banks and things, which may not be able to support the paper that they have outstanding, which then creates questions for all of the banks that we depend on. Will there be a bank run? What happens if there's a bank run? And the punchline to this awful narrative is I'm concerned that the really powerful people who understand where we are and know where the bodies are buried are aware of all of the rotten timbers that the financial structure is depending on, knows where they are. So it knows that at some point they're going to give way. If that involves normal people being unable to access their money because there's a bank run and banks shut down, that we may find ourselves ushered into a central bank digital currency as people are suddenly unable to live their lives because they don't have access to their money, and the FDIC that insures their money could deliver them their cash in central bank digital currency form. The reason that matters is because that's programmable money.
He's worried that a central bank digital currency, they have the turnkey totalitarian state ready to go, but they haven't turned the key yet, and they can't get everyone. If they just said, okay, we're doing a CBDC now, everyone would fight it. But if there is a financial calamity triggered by the silver price going parabolic, then the banks would collapse, and then they would say, look, your money is gone, but we can give you this CBDC instead. It's either that or you don't have any money. And then he was like, yeah, please give me the CBDC. And then he's like, well, if we went through COVID under a CBDC, it would be game over and they would win. And that's what he's afraid of. So what he doesn't understand, obviously, is that the reason that silver is the blast cap is because it's still the money today. And if it goes parabolic, that means that the CBDC that would be based on the current dollar would not have any value. So nobody would take it because nobody could take it because it would be valueless. And so his game over scenario is impossible. It's talking about an already collapsed Tower of Babel that he doesn't realize is already gone.
But it's honest. It's awesome that he's got a lot of the pieces there. You can tell. That was pretty good. I mean, that's an analysis that I would provide to a normie, starting. Yeah, I would love to get on it. I could convince him in about 20 minutes if I had a couple props with me.
Oh man, if we could get on that show,
Yeah,
that would be the pinnacle of our human careers.
I would fly to his studio if I could do it.
Yeah, I would too, and I'm in Israel. Jeez. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
We'll see. Maybe people get us out. So, fan base.
I just want to see the look in his eyes when he suddenly realizes what we're saying. And then he has to go on Xanax too. He's like, oh my God, the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The whole time.
50 years, huh? 100 years. It's gonna be grim. But yes, so here's for the CBD. I think we talked about this before, I'm sure, but for the CBDC fear people, what is money? Money is the most liquid commodity in a market. It's the thing that is best used for trade. If you have a thing you're trying to trade with, and you pull out your CBDC wallety thing or whatever, and you try to buy something, it goes beep 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 beep. You spoke out against the government, so no beef for you. You get cricket rations today, and then why would anyone use this, right? I mean, even if
the other side would say they would use it because they have no choice because everyone is forced to. That's what they would say.
I can give you a silver coin.
The whole time.
Yeah, I'll give you a silver coin.
Yeah.
You give me beef here. Here's a silver coin. You give me beef. It's that easy. It's that easy, people.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, there's no choice. They're not. Yes, there is a choice. We can trade.
Wow.
It's very easy, guys. Don't just calm down. Everyone, calm down. They're not gonna. And no, the butcher's not even going to want that, right? Let's say the butcher, let's say the butcher drinks a little bit, right? And he tries to go buy beer from the brewer, and his CBDC goes beep 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 beep. This is your fifth beer you purchased this week, so you're cut off.
Right.
Well, so
S-
he's not gonna give you his meat to get the CBDC to go get the beer because this thing it doesn't work. It's not
So
the
this is
trading
a
doesn't work.
perfect segue into Iran and Venezuela, right? Because the other side would say the CBDC fear mongers, and I don't want to call them fear mongers. I don't think they're mongering anything. I think they're genuinely concerned,
Yeah.
right? And so just to allay their fears, they're saying that in a hyperinflationary scenario, the government would still have complete control to force you to use the hyperinflationary credit note, whatever form it might be. But then you think back in history and you think, what government ever had control of a hyperinflationary society? They
Yeah,
they
no,
specifically
right
do
now.
not have control over them. That's literally when they lose control. Right? Look at Iran. What triggered all of the chaos that's happening in Iran right now? The collapse of the rial or whatever they call it. It like suddenly dropped against the dollar like 1,000,000% or something. So like nobody had any money. So if you don't have any money, what else are you gonna do but throw fire bombs at the government? That's what you're gonna do if you have nothing else to live for. If you're starving, what else can you do? So
Yeah.
it's going to be that situation where people will either use silver and get the most liquid commodity back into the economy again because they see that its value is stable relative to all other values, other commodities and other goods and services, or they'll starve. So it's a simple solution. Just use the silver.
Exactly. People will put up with a certain amount of poverty. They just will put up, and it's a lot more than you'd think, right? People will put up with the government stealing lots from them, but there's just a point where people say, "I can't use this," and they don't, and then things start toppling.
Yeah, and then
Absolutely.
and then if the government says, "Well, if you don't use it, you'll die." Well, if I try to use it, I'll die too. What's the difference?
Yeah. Yep. So I have an interesting theory on Venezuela, and this you actually inspired this theory on me because you did an interview a long time ago. I think it was on Liberty and Finance where they were talking about kicking how they could kick the can down the road, and you said
In
if
Venezuela specifically?
Venezuela, no, this is not Venezuela. This is just like how the system can keep going.
Okay. Yeah.
You said if they discovered cold fusion, like if we discovered cold fusion, the productivity just went just through the roof the system could survive a good bit longer because the actual productivity of humanity was outpacing the exponential inflation, right? So
Mhm.
that made me realize what keeps this going is cheap energy. Keeping the energy cheap is what has been able to keep, the system going much longer than it has in the past. And so the system is demanding cheap energy. Now we don't have cold fusion, so the next best thing would be the largest oil reserves in the world, which Venezuela has, right? So the system is saying, we need to pump that oil out and get it in to bring down energy prices. And as long as energy prices can stay down, even in an inflating system, the other prices can stay down as well because the energy is behind, just about everything we do. And this isn't a conscious, people, when I talk about the system, it's not a conscious entity. It's like an invisible hand. It's a corrupted invisible hand. So what does this look like? Trump is sitting around with his advisors and he's realizing, the tariffs aren't really working to bring industrial jobs back to America. The prices are getting out of control. People aren't really buying this good morning in America pitch that he promised. What did he promise when he ran? He promised prosperity and a rebuilding of the American dream. And, we're going to have a new golden age.
To
That's
me,
not
to me,
happening.
he only promised no more mutilating children, and he achieved that so far. So I had very low expectations. That was my expectation. He achieved that, and for that, he deserves praise. And let's move on with the end game now. Yeah, that's my view. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, yeah, but he doesn't understand money. Obviously, his advisors don't understand money. Obviously, so what did he promise? He promised American prosperity. So they're sitting around, and I'm sure he's like, "How can I get things moving here?" And I'm sure Scott Bessent said we need cheap energy because cheap energy is going to motivate, or going to, motivate it's going to stimulate the economy. Well, where do we get the cheap energy from? Well, we'll get it from Venezuela, right? I'm sure that's what happened. It may, maybe a little more convoluted than that, but I'm sure that's where the discussion went to. So I don't think I do not think they're going to be able to get that much energy up and running because I think we're weeks to a few months away from the end game. So I don't think they're going to be able to get giant refineries pumping 24/7 within that span of time and get enough energy into America and stimulate, get everything going. But that doesn't mean the system's not going to try, right? This is the last desperate gasp of a dying system trying to keep going one last time. So that's where I think this came from was the system is demanding cheap energy to try to increase productivity one last time so that the inflationary system can continue. But once again, I don't think it's going to happen.
Right. You know what I found out today?
What'd you find out today?
Maduro is a Jew.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's not a Jew anymore, but both sides of his grandparents converted to Catholicism. That means he's a
Oh,
Jew.
oh, he's a converso. Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
so another one of those damn Jews ruining the planet, destroying everything. No, no, I say that like half jokingly.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing more dangerous than a destroyed Jew because they're talented and they get far and they destroy. Sorry. Yeah.
Haiti has one billionaire and it's a Jewish guy.
God.
He lives in like a fortress compound, far away from Port-au-Prince. But yeah, I don't know how exactly it works, but he like sucks the wealth of that nation right into his coffers.
Ah, damn Jews.
Mr. and Mrs. Livingston, we have kidnapped your son. Pay $100,000 or he dies. Signed, the Jews. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Who in their right mind is going to believe this note? It's the Jews, Morton. They're going to want more than $100,000.
Well,
Okay.
luckily we got guys like you to take him to task.
Anyway, the last thing we wanted to talk about, if you want to touch on it, if you have time, is the gold to silver ratio. What point did you want to make on this?
Oh, sure. So if you look online, there's all sides saying anything from like silver's not going to remonetize. Don't, this is pie in the sky nonsense. The best we're going to get is 45, maybe 50 to 1 or maybe 40 to 1, something like that.
We're already
But in
close to
this
50, aren't we? We're like
Yeah, I
55.
think so. Yeah, we're like in this maybe high 50s. But this is like the Rick Rule types, or they're bullish, but they're not. They're like don't overdo it.
Mhm.
And on the other side, we got guys like Market Sniper saying it's going 1 to 1, and he's going to start. He's going to
He
start.
says 1 to 1?
Yes, he says briefly 1 to 1. He's going to start divest. He said this on a show the other day. He's going to start divesting his silver at 10 to 1. That's when he's going to start to start to
Okay,
disgorge. And he
fine.
said he's gonna peak out at 1 to 1. He thinks it could briefly go higher, so silver could be more valuable than gold for a brief spell. That's
How that
his.
what how what the hell is he talking about?
I don't know. I'm just saying I'm just spreading the
Okay,
word
fine.
here.
No, I'm not criticizing him. I'm just this is
Yeah.
so ridiculous to me. I'd love to hear his rationale for it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's never happened in history. The
Well,
the I think the lowest ratio we ever got to was 7 to 1, and people have this like weird idea in their heads that just because the amount of monetary gold that's available is a lot higher than the amount of monetary silver that's currently. I don't even know if that's true, but even let's say it is, it's the quantity isn't the only thing that drives the price, man. It's
yeah,
not.
because
I
you're
mean,
assuming.
talk to Keith Weiner about this. I mean, he's like the number one cheerleader for um, rational. So he doesn't even hold that 15 to 1 is possible. I do. So I'd like to understand why he holds that 15 to 1 is impossible, given that it's happened 3 times in the last century. But it's not just the amount that matters.
Yeah, the silver and gold have different purposes, entirely different purposes. Gold, and they're not, the thought that like, oh, so silver's coming out of the ground at 6 to 1 or 7 to 1 to gold, therefore its intrinsic value, whatever that means, is going to be 6 to 1, 7 to 1. That's not, they do different things.
Yeah,
Gold,
it's such simplistic
yeah,
thinking.
gold is deep storage wealth. Gold is like when you want to turn your wealth into something that you're going to pass down to your grandkids, or just if you need to save it for an emergency or you want to save for retirement, you put it into gold because you know it's just going to sit there and be gold and it's going to maintain its value over long periods of time. So you can store your labor in gold, right? In monetary terms. Silver is transactional money. It's designed, you are supposed to put it in your pocket, go down to the corner store and buy a soda and, whatever, gas, whatever. You use silver to directly transact with it. This is in the bimetallic standard. I'm not saying this is happening right now, but in the bimetallic standard, silver is the transactional money. So its velocity, and I hate to use that, that's a Keynesian term. I hate to use it, but the velocity of silver is way higher than gold because people use it to physically transact all the time. So they're doing different things with it. People don't store their value in silver. They use silver to transact. Now, that doesn't mean that silver doesn't have any value, storage value. You can store your wealth in silver, but because they use it to transact, not to store their wealth, there's a lot more volatility because sometimes sometimes velocity is higher than at other times. So because I don't know how much silver. I guess the dumbed down conclusion would be because there's less silver than there was due to industrial purposes. There's less coins floating around, and so therefore, and even if we turned all the bars and stuff into coins and melted down our tea sets and our forks and knives, so much has been used in industrial purposes that we won't have enough coins to use at the 20-to-1 ratio. We're going to have a closer ratio than 20-to-1. I don't know. I don't know. What I would say is we could still have the 20-to-1 ratio, but prices might be a lot lower in silver and gold terms because there's less coins floating around. That could be one issue. The more important to me than the gold silver ratio is the gold and silver to stuff ratio, right? Mm-hmm. When the gold to silver to stuff ratio spikes unbelievably, that's the time to disgorge it. So I'm not going to sit there. It's much more important to me to turn my silver into a house than it is to turn it into gold.
Right.
Right. That's what I think. So what I would do instead of sitting there, because the computers might not even be working, right? I don't even know if things are going to be up online and you'd be able to calculate the gold silver ratio. What I'm going to do is ask people, the people that I've already got a mental list in my head of who I'm going to try and save with silver. I'm going to go to them and say, hey, look, I can buy your house for 100 ounces of silver. And when they stop laughing, and when they're like, how about 250? Then I know I'm in the right ballpark.
Right.
Because right now, if you're like, hey, I'll buy your house for 100 ounces, they're like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
You nut,
Yeah.
That's like $7,000. And B, it's in silver bullion, which they don't want, right?
Right.
But when we're negotiating price, now we know we're in the right ballpark and we can start disgorging our silver.
Okay. There's one last point I wanted to make just because I've heard it on a lot of the comments on my channel and a lot of stuff on X and whatever. But I'm going to make a video. I think my next video is going to be like the top 10 or top 15 errors people make about gold and silver, like just seeing it wrong. Somebody suggested I do it. I think it's a good idea. So they say like, I don't know, maybe it was a Bitcoin versus silver argument or something. And the silver people said, silver represents your labor, or gold represents labor, right? All the work that went into silver to mine it up represents your labor. Like gold and silver don't represent shit.
We ain't found shit.
Okay? They're just metals. They don't represent anything. They're just money, right? It's just liquid. It's just liquid. That's all. Money doesn't have to derivatives of money. Credit has to represent money, but money doesn't represent anything. It's just money. Okay, keep it simple.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. When you can buy that brief period during the crash, when you can buy like Ben Stiller's Upper West Side apartment because he didn't stack, right? And you buy it for like 100 ounces of silver. The reason is because there's not enough currency floating around. But once the currency starts floating around again, things are going to calm down. And I don't know how much silver is needed to actually get things, the juices flowing again, but it will show up. People will melt down their solar panels if they need to. The silver price will spike. The silver price relative to other goods will spike to the point where enough silver shows up for trade. So I'm not worried. I'm not
Sorry,
worried about
that reminds me of a short story, quick story, of my teacher, my economics Rebbe, Robert Wenzel said, this is a few months before he died, at the beginning of COVID. He died in May 2021. So in 2020, during the toilet paper apocalypse, right, and everyone was looking for toilet paper, and everyone was like, "Oh, the stackers have their day, or the preppers have their day," and because they're all sitting at home with their toilet paper that they've been collecting. He wrote a post about, like, if you think, with an Austrian head about, and with an economic head about where the supplies of toilet paper would be, and they're there. If you just think about where they are, then you can go to them, and then you can offer money for toilet paper if you need toilet paper. So, for example, like, he needs to find toilet paper, and so he went into hotels, and he goes up to the concierge and says, "Hey, you have a stock room of toilet paper, I bet. I'm willing to pay XYZ for a few rolls." And then, the guy's like, he doesn't really want to, and he's not allowed to, but, like, if you pay him enough, like, you'll get it. It's there.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's enough silver. It's hidden away in whatever industrial application for, I don't know, video game cards or something, or AI chips that nobody's
Yeah.
going to need. So they're just going to hack away at the AI machines to get silver to buy food for the week. That's what's going to happen. That's going to be the destruction of AI, everybody melting it down for all the silver content. And that's how we're going to conquer Skynet, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, exactly. It will. It will. I'm not worried. The market will figure it out, and everyone's just overthinking it. And I understand why. I mean, it's a big thing to it's a big thing that's going to happen. So I see why people are thinking about it. But don't worry so much, guys. Just disgorge your stacks, and that'll be the end of it.
Yep. So the Torah's version of economics, it comes down to don't steal. That's it. That's it. That's it. Nothing else. It all comes down to
All right.
that. All right.
All right. Any final thoughts?
That was my final thought. Don't steal.
Okay. Are you going to buy Ben Stiller's apartment in the Upper West Side?
I have no desire is it for sale?
It will be because he didn't
Oh,
stack.
Why Ben Still? Like, why'd that come in your head?
I was thinking of the B+ list celebrities that all live in the Upper West Side and how they all like cheered for Mamdani. Now they're
Oh,
gonna
he
have to
lives in the
sell.
Upper West Side of Manhattan,
I
Ben
think so.
Stiller?
I'm not exactly sure, but all these guys do, like Mark Ruffalo and Peter
Oh
Dinklage.
God, that guy. Ugh.
Yeah, they all have
Mark
apartments in like the Upper West Side, and
Mark
they're all
Ruffalo is
just gonna
horrible. These people.
they're all gonna have to sell. Like,
There's something wrong with these people. Like, seriously,
I can't
like
wait for
a lifetime of posh wealth and comfort really rots your brain. It really
yeah, it
does.
really does. It really does. But I can't wait for them to like open their curtains and like people are like eating the squirrels in Central Park and like burning dumpsters, and they're like, I have to sell this apartment immediately.
All right. So I'll end it with a squirrel brain eating meme if I can find one, and have a good week.
All right, you too, Rafi. Take care.
This will really tell people.